And welcome inside the Backstage Pass. It is another day of shows, and of course, triple header coming up tomorrow to wrap up the week too. And always staying busy here too as we push toward another football season coming up here in about 10 weeks. So it was just like you counting down the calendar a few minutes ago. 10 weeks until actually the official start of college football season, high school, and of course NFL 2 weeks after that. So hard to believe the summer's here. It's hot, and I tell you what, she's hot right now in Nashville. She's doing it her way. And pleased to welcome her in here to the Backstage Pass, powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com and of course hightidecountry.net, presented by Bangtail Whiskey and our friends at Honky Tonk Texas. Holy cowboy, Renee Blair is here on the Backstage Pass. Renee, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you
Hey,
doing?
doing pretty good. I love your backdrop. Let me first comment on that beautiful backdrop behind you.
This
That
is one of those
photograph.
flip screens. I was like, I go left, it moves right.
It moves right. There you go. Uh,
Thanks.
love that background. Tell us all about that background. I want to know where that picture came from.
Oh my gosh, you're going to get me in trouble from the beginning. Here we go. But I'm used to that. I love trouble. I was actually out of town on the road. I
Mm-hmm.
think I was out opening for, I believe, Billy Currington. It was right before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I got off stage and had like 50 text messages of my boyfriend at the time. Now he's my husband.
Mm-hmm.
But they were like, Jordan is hammered on stage. Actually it was the week COVID started because the week before lockdown, the tornado happened in Nashville that ripped
Mm-hmm.
through downtown
Mm-hmm.
Nashville. That was just so devastating to um, a lot of our community and people's apartments. And anyway, so some friends of ours put together a benefit to raise money for all the destruction and the
Mm-hmm.
damage and some big songwriters. And so Mitchell Tenpenny and my husband, Mitchell's my unborn baby's
Mm-hmm.
godfather. But when Mitchell and Jordan get together, especially for a good cause,
Mm-hmm.
they will throw a few back. And there was a live, sorry, I keep doing the wrong way, but there was a live artist at
Mm-hmm.
this show who drew this while the boys were on stage playing a
Mm-hmm.
writer's round. And I get texts that Jordan's just shouting out numbers with zeros behind it to beat him and Mitchell. The more they drank, they'd be like 500. No, I'm going to go for 6. No, I'm going to go for 700. And they were getting drunk on stage, battling who was going to buy this Johnny Cash portrait that was made live in real time. And I
Love that.
guess Jordan won. So yeah, but now it's a beautiful piece in our home and really the only piece that probably costs more than like $20 from TJ Maxx.
You put that there. Hey, let's talk about your story. This thing called Nashville, man. You've been around it for a while now too, and making some great music out there, and really just resonating with fans. I go back to Stronger Than Me, which came out 2021, and the full length album, of course. Tell everybody who does not know, I guess for my listeners who may be hearing you for the first time, or your name as an artist, how you got started in music, I guess the love of it, and kind of that backstory a little bit.
Gosh, I've been in town so long now that I'm like, where does my story even really begin besides diapers? Like most of us, hearing our
Mm-hmm.
parents, as a kid, you're forced to listen to the music your parents love until you get old enough to either, back in my day, get your own CD player or MP3,
Yep.
your little um, Apple iPod Nano. I remember my
Nano.
iPod Nano was my
Mm-hmm.
best friend. And then, you get, now that I'm an expecting mother, I'm looking back at when I was a brat as a kid being like, Mom, play this station. Because I was tired of hearing my mom's music. But my earliest memories of music, my parents were definitely huge country music fans.
Mm-hmm.
But then once I became, kind of my own individual, I grew up in St. Louis and Nelly was like the biggest artist on the
Yep.
planet. So the school that I went to in particular was, closer to downtown St. Louis, still not in like downtown proper. But I remember kids were like banding together to have St. Louis pride for Nelly. And if you admitted that you liked country music, you were basically a nerd and so uncool. So I kind of turned off country music for a few years when I was really young because I wanted to be cool. Kids don't like
Mm-hmm.
being bullied. Kids are
Sure.
mean. And I wanted to be cool. So I was like, no, country music sucks. And I really embraced, I mean, I went to a Catholic school. So looking back,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, in my little Catholic uniform skirt, like rapping like I was Nelly himself, which is just comical. But anyways, that being said, my earliest influences were always this yin and yang of
Hmm.
hip hop and country. And so 15 years ago, when I did move to Nashville, I remember country music was finally becoming cool again within my culture of friends. Rascal Flatts was huge. Carrie Underwood had just won American Idol. Keith Urban was massive. And so I remember my friends that had Facebook before Facebook artists had
Hmm.
page like before artists had
Hmm.
pages on Facebook, where my friends would type in under the favorite music category and like the little bio,
Hmm.
they would put country and rap. Pop was in a very interesting phase. Like Britney Spears was like in the, shaving her head era. That kind of early 2000s was dying off. So, anyways, all that to say, I just remember thinking there was going to be a bridge between the two, and I wanted to be the one to do it. And I felt
Hmm.
like I got laughed out of Nashville early on for thinking you could ever put a hip hop drum beat behind country lyric.
Hmm.
But you look now at some people that have opened the door for that to become possible. Sorry, we got people walking in the studio
You're
here. Our
good.
studio's at the house. Like FGL, Sam Hunt, you name it. A
Hmm.
lot of these guys
Hmm.
um, kind of opened the door for what I saw coming.
Hmm.
And it helped someone like me it become more acceptable for what I wanted to do around the same time. So it's taken me a little while to hone in on that sound and exactly how I wanted to bring it to life. But uh, yeah, that's the long story very short.
Yeah, it is a great sound of music, and you kind of have that blend of kind of what you want to do with a little bit of that pop country going on too at the same time, and I love it too because it's a little bit of diversity. Because I grew up on, and I call myself old now, being in my 40s at the same time too, and being a first
You're
time dad.
so
But
old. Oh
we're
my
yeah,
God.
because we remember CD players, remember nano iPods, remember all the things before the things took off and it was streaming immediate too, the old flip cell phones, stuff like that, Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers, things like that that
Yeah.
really came to mind too. But I knew that day was coming and music was going to change. But I love the 90s country. You got a little bit of feel for that in several tunes too. I love it. But take me back to those first couple of singles and some best memories on Stronger Than Me and Turn Up the Night 2021 when those came out. And kind of like you said too at the same time, this is the style we've been into for the past about 7, 8, 9 years, ever since those artists have been around too. You're doing your thing and it's working for you, no doubt.
Yeah, my first publishing deal was I was signed to a publishing and production deal with Shane McAnally, who at the time was breaking, artists like Casey Musgrave, Sam Hunt, Old Dominion, and I was in that crew. So I will say, looking back at my first deal, I, kind of thought, well, I'm in the room with the people bringing all these other artists to life, that it's just a matter of time until it happens for me. That, I've had a lot of experience and wisdom that's come since then. I think the thing I've been most successful at, I will humbly say, is I've learned, I've failed a lot and I've learned a lot more of what not to do
Mm-hmm.
sometimes than what to do. So I think that is half the art and the battle in this business is you cannot be afraid to fail. But when I was signed to Shane, I was so young, I was so green.
Mm-hmm.
And I really just kind of waited on him to like say jump and I would say how high.
Mm-hmm.
And now looking back, like I'm a little more aggressive in a different way because I realize that you can have the biggest team around you, but ultimately your success is going to be truly left up to how hard you wake up and work every day, and it is not guaranteed of who you're
Mm-hmm.
signed to, all that jazz. Anyways, but being around Shane and all those people, I think more than anything with those early songs, if I learned one thing, it's the craft of songwriting
Mm-hmm.
and what Shane McAnally brings to the table as a publisher and producer. He has such integrity about his approach of song selection for an artist.
Mm-hmm.
He's written songs for all different types of artists. He's had, gosh, over 50 number ones now, which is crazy.
Amazing.
Um, but the integrity of songwriting is truly, when I the very first song I ever put out was Gotta Quit Drinking, and I
Mm-hmm.
joke that it's not because I have a drinking problem, it's that I had a problem when I would drink. I would just like text ex-boyfriends and people that I should never be reaching out to. But anyways, that being said, the integrity of songwriting, it's like exposing the world to your diary. If you want to let people in on that level, which I think fans truly want to hear an artist put out music that gives them a sneak peek under the hood of what their life is really like. And so, I did write all of those early songs. And I tried to just be as autobiographical as possible. If I was going through a heartbreak or made mistakes, I wanted people to know, like, I owned this mistake that I made, and I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it and polish myself up in a bow or a box like a Barbie, that I have flaws. And so I think some of those early music I put out was really just my experiences as a young, as much as I was trying to be an artist, I was trying to find myself. I think, we mentioned that you're in your 40s, and you look back at being 21 versus 29. I think in your 20s, you do so much growth and change as a human. Like in your 30s, and, people I know in their 40s as well, who you are at 40 is probably pretty close to who you are at 50.
Yes.
But in your 20s, every year I was kind of a different character because I liked trial and error. So I think my first album is super, super reflective on me just trying to get to know who I really am, because I was all over the place. So yeah.
No, there's many on that album. I'm going to come back and talk about one after we take a little quick time out, pay some bills here on the show. Downtown Up was one of my favorites on that record too. We'll go back and talk about that. We get into what I'm sure is a great story off of that one too as well. And then Turn Up the Night, two of my favorites off of the 17 record, which came out in 2021. More with Renee Blair. It is the Backstage Pass. You can check us out at hightidecountry.net, and of course out there at the Sports Guys podcast.com, getting ready for sports season again for football, and of course the College World Series, and a whole lot of sports going on that we give our opinion about daily here on the Backstage Pass. More with Renee Blair tomorrow, triple header of shows. Hard to believe it's 3 on a Friday, but we get to do that here on the show. Word from our friends at Bangtail Whiskey, and of course Honky Tonk Texas. Coming back, more with Renee Blair. It is the Backstage Pass. Stick around.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here on the show again, Renee Blair joining us here, talking music and a whole lot more tomorrow. Triple header sports, of course. We'll talk some baseball. CJ Nitkowski coming on from MLB Network Radio, Texas Ranger announcer, and of course Faith Schuler and Sarah Allison Turner will join us here as we do a little triple header on a Friday, because next week not going to be many shows. I'm taking a little vacation break there next week and enjoy some of the Renee Blair music and all the other tunes I listen to when I'm on vacation here on the Backstage Pass. Hey, let's go back to that 17 record, Turn Up the Night. I want to get a little backstory on this one too.
So this is actually the only song I've ever released or recorded that I did not write. Like I said, I'm such a songwriter at heart. That's my favorite, maybe tied with my favorite part of my job, which the other thing it's tied with is touring. I'm obsessed with being out on the road. But anyways, Turn Up the Night. My husband wrote What Ifs for Kane Brown with a guy named Matt McGinn. And so Matt McGinn and my husband and I were one of my first songwriting combos that I would get in with regularly. They really understood the sound and the pocket and the phrasing of what I was trying to go for as an artist. It was just my combo. And they just have right now their third or fourth single together, Matt and Jordan, my husband, with Kane. They wrote Like I Love Country Music and currently Bury Me in Georgia, starting with What Ifs, which was Kane's first number one. But anyways, they were out on the road with Kane writing one weekend, and they wrote Turn Up the Night. And when it came time for Kane to cut his next album that he was working on, last minute, they passed on that song. And as I'm developing my live shows, starting to go out on the road more, again, this was like right before the pandemic. I was touring almost every single weekend, and I loved watching the crowd come to life. Like I would play, it's different when you're at home listening to music or you're going through a heartbreak and you're in your car crying. But when people come to a show, most of the time I look out at my crowd and they are there to party. They are there to rage. And so,
Yeah.
If I only get so many songs a night, usually as the opening act, I just wanted to warm up the crowd and give them a party, kick it off. And so Turn Up the Night, I was just so obsessed with. And deep down, I secretly hoped Kane wouldn't record it so that maybe I could be first in line to do it myself. And I got lucky enough that was the case. And so it's very convenient. My husband and I built a studio at our house where he records a lot of the songs you guys know and love. We've had a great run here the last few years, but I was able to just at home get in the booth and actually, we did go in the studio and record full band on all the instruments, but I do all the vocals at home. And so, yeah, we did Turn Up the Night, and it's my show opener when I go out on the road. It's just a great way to kick off the energy of everyone, wanting to turn up. So that's the story behind that.
I love that one. And off that record, 17 too, another one that really did it for me and a lot of the fans out there too, and I get great feedback, is Downtown Up. And I think that's something where people want to have a good time too as well. And that's just a good time, kind of one of those songs, let go and let's go downtown, have a great time, and just enjoy the music. And there's a lot of fun songs you mentioned on 17, but that's one of my favorites too.
Thanks. Downtown Up. So I went to an all-girls high school, and actually yesterday I had to film a bunch of stuff downtown. And so I went and got my hair and makeup done because I'm, 8.5 months pregnant, and I don't feel like doing my own hair and makeup right now if I don't have
That's
to.
all good. You shouldn't have to.
So it's funny you bring that up because the girl that was curling my hair, she was like, don't you miss those days when you were like 20 or 21 and you lived to just get ready with your girlfriends?
Mm-hmm.
And you would all be in the mirror together, picking out what you wanted to wear and, who was gonna, do their hair this way or that way, or you share products as a girl. And so being at an all girls school, I spent so many hours in the mirror with my friends doing that. And Downtown Up is really a girl anthem about getting ready to look your best to break some hearts down on Broadway or just show off. It's truly about embracing the pregame. It's your inner pregame of starting the party before the party starts. So I love Downtown Up as well, and very, very reminiscent of that time in my life when I just lived to get ready with my girlfriends and fight over who's going to wear what shoes or what skirt. So,
well, this latest single you guys put out March 24th, I mentioned that, kind of led that at the top of the show when I did that, Holy Cowboy. I love this song, and it's definitely got a great feel to it too. Great photography on the single itself when it came to the photo leading up to the single too at the same time. How did this come about? And definitely this is a great piece of work, Holy Cowboy.
Thanks. Gosh, Holy Cowboy means so much to me. I wrote it with one of the writers who wrote the song Butter by BTS, which was broke countless records on Billboard, you name it. It's by, BTS, like I said, this K-pop group. And if you haven't heard it, I'm sure if I sing it, a little clip of it, you'll recognize it immediately. But it's like smooth like butter.
Oh, yeah.
So massive song. And one of the writers happens to live right here in Nashville. And I had a write coming up with him. And I just I never really get intimidated anymore because I've been in town for so long. But, Butter was just such a massive hit that I was like, I got to bring it. And I had this idea for Holy Cowboy, and I looked it up and it had never been done. And I was shocked because I was like, that is people say those light bulb moments, the most genius ideas are ones that have been staring at you the whole time, all the time. Like, how are we just all blind to them?
Mm-hmm.
But they're so simple. They're so easy. So Holy Cowboy. I went in and got to write that with, his name is Rufio. He's fantastic. And then my husband, who's done a lot of the Hardy album, Hardy's obviously leaning into his double 2-part album with half country, half rock. And my husband kind of has more of a rock production background as well. So he really brought that rock element. It was leaning more hip hop than rock, but there is some crazy rock stuff going on in the track. And
it really is. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, and also on TikTok, people are saying it's now the thirst trap song of TikTok. I mean, there are some parts of women's bodies that they're exposing to this song that I never saw coming, or maybe didn't really want to. But it's a little wild to watch. I had a feeling people would really resonate with it, but they are on a whole nother scale than unlike anything I've ever seen. So I'm just incredibly proud of it. And, I try to approach any song that I release as a fan first. What do I want to hear come across my airwaves? I'm looking for a good time. I'm looking for, a party. I love to party. That's been the hardest part of pregnancy, is I miss partying. I will just shamelessly say it. So, Holy Cowboy, just adds to the reflection of my truest desire, which is just to have a good time. Life is hard enough. We've all got stuff we're dealing with behind the scenes that, the rest of the world may not be privy to. So it's a fun time.
Well, that's what you do. And a lot of artists that I talk to here on the show, making the fun music. And it's something, if you'd want to hear it or play it for an audience who'd want to hear it, then it's the right thing for you to step out there and, put your name behind it, stand behind it. And if you believe in it as much as an audience can captivate them, and your stage presence is so good. I've seen clips of you opening for the big time performers out there too as well. And that makes me kind of, push forward. I know that, and congratulations on the upcoming baby boy. And I can't wait to see you live at a show, which I've never gotten to do. I've been a huge fan of yours for a long time, and I can't wait to hopefully get back out there. I know it's going to be a while, but seeing you do your thing live and the stage presence and the way you make a crowd come alive, at least the feedback I've gotten to and the videos I've seen are fantastic. What do you enjoy most about just the stage? Is it the audience?
Yeah, people spend their hard-earned dollar to come to shows. And I don't take that lightly. I really know that, people might hate their job, hate their coworkers. And especially if they're spending, like I said, their hard-earned dollar to come see some music, they are just looking to let loose and escape and have fun. And I take that side of my job really seriously, where I want to bring myself to the same level of them, of just being a basic human. And so I really try to engage with the crowd as much as possible and make it our show, not my show. So I'll ask them questions. I like to find out if anyone's celebrating a birthday and things like that. So I love connecting with the people that show up. And a rowdy crowd I'm biased, is my favorite. And usually we're lucky enough to get to tour on the weekends. And so people are there showing up, wanting to party. But touring is just, it's, being in Nashville, there's teams called A&Rs at the labels, and A&Rs are supposed to help pick a hit and pick what you should put on your album or pick the single. But there is nothing like performing an unreleased song in front of a crowd of strangers, because they are brutally honest. If they love it, they will let you know. And if you hear crickets, that's another answer. So I also enjoy that aspect of getting to see how the crowd reacts to what we build here in Music City, and it's nice and refreshing to realize that sometimes the suits don't know everything, and I like to base my decisions off of what my consumers want. So
good way to put that too, because you're exactly right too. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that, again, the crowds will tell you, after attending so many concerts and covering music for as long as I have, both professionally and radio, and before I started my own thing and doing this, people will let you know their opinion, whether you like it or not, out there too, when it comes down to it. This female movement now over the last few years, I want to get your opinion on this, because I think it's one of the best things to happen in country music in the last 15, 20 years, even back with 90s country that I grew up on too, because you look at, and I can go on and on with the names, Megan Patrick, Carly Pierce, Ashley McBride, yourself included. There's so many of these wonderful ladies, Lainey Wilson taking home these awards. at the CMAs. Give me an opinion, because it's like country music is alive and well, always has been. But this female movement, with you included, they're just putting so much energy back into it, and it's just good to see the female population again just take control of what once was, I guess still is, kind of a male-dominated industry. But at the same time, this is great for the industry. It really is. What's your thought on that?
I have many thoughts, and a lot of people here in town will probably tell me to shut up, but I'm not going to. I have seen a beautiful effort to try and equalize the play of how many men and women are being played. There's been a huge debate and battle in Nashville the last decade or so of people really fighting to get more women to be played. There is a surge that is starting to happen, or has been seeming to happen over the last few years. But I check the media base airplay charts every morning when I wake up, and I was a little bummed. With the last 2 months, there's still only 3 females in the top 30. And, as much as I hate to see that, I will say that there are less people listening to radio now. So many fans have jumped over to mainly consuming their music via Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, and other streaming platforms. And I will say that the greatest thing to happen to females in country has been the internet, and the fact that streaming platforms has been able to expose us. Because if we were truly just left to radio, I think there would be a lot of females that you might not be familiar with if you are now. Like you mentioned, Megan Patrick. She's my very best friend in the whole entire world. She makes kick-ass music, and she works her tail off, and she's getting so many fans and so much love from streaming. So she's just a great example. She's yet to have prominent airplay on American radio. She's actually had some great radio airplay success in Canada, where she started her career. But I'm just such a big advocate for the streaming platforms, because they've allowed me to even be here with you right now. I think that's how most people consume my music and know about me. So I'm just very grateful to streaming platforms for helping bring the fans and audience to more female artists. Because there's a lot that, like you mentioned some that I would have just rattled off if you hadn't. But Lainey, obviously, really awesome females coming up in the genre. And, obviously I'm biased because I'm a girl, but we love to see it.
I loved it too. And I went to Nashville for the first time in a long time last year. In the last 2, we've done some CRS coverage up there for Country Radio Seminar. And we got to go to a little event that even Lindsay L out there, shredding on the guitar. My God, people seeing her live playing the electric guitar and doing her thing and singing her music. It just makes a crowd, makes an audience, and makes a venue just come to life. We got to come to life here and pay some bills here on the show, or I'll get phone calls saying, why did you play my spot? But here it is, Bangtail Whiskey and our friends over at Honky Tonk Texas, keeping the show alive here for the last 4 years. And of course, new sponsors coming on here in a matter of a few weeks too as well. Coming back more with Renee Blair. It is the Backstage Pass, hightidecountry.net. And of course, the Sports Guys podcast.com is powered by Back in a Jiffy. Hang tight.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here, Renee Blair on the show, hightidecountry.net, of course, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com, presented by Bangtail Whiskey and our friends at Honky Tonk Texas. Check them out there. Appreciate all the work that our sponsors do. Talking some music, having a little fun. And again, congratulations on being a first-time mom. You're going to enjoy this. And I definitely can't wait to see pictures and all that good stuff out there.
Thank you.
On social media, because it definitely turns the world upside down. But I know my daughter just turned 3 this past year, so it is. I actually get to see her in a swimming pool for the second or third time, jump off the side of a pool, Renee, in like 5 foot of water, fearless, no floaties, just land in the water and just have fun. And it's just the different stages they go through, the growth spurts. Right now, what I'm having a problem with, she's not sleeping in her own bed. She's coming to sleep with mom and daddy. So it's like that's been about a month of like, oh my God, can we please get some sleep and go sleep in your bed?
Congratulations on the first chapter of fatherhood as well. It's interesting that you mentioned her jumping off the side of the pool. I have some friends and family that are newer parents, and a lot of them do recommend or say that they've been recommended to get their kid in the water at like even 6 months. And I feel like kids are learning to swim more now than ever, just like survival skills. And my little niece was swimming with no floaties right around the time you're saying your daughter was. And I was like, there's no way I was swimming with no floaties at 3 years old. Like, what is going on?
No, we had to have them on back then too, because our swimming would be like, yeah, if the local pool was closed, you just find you a creek and just right there too, and countryside, and be like, yep, I'm right there. This bathing suit. What bathing suit? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Listen, you're preaching to a country girl. I get it.
Well, let's talk about this one. With last year when it came out, Good at Being Single. I want to know the lowdown of this one here because I love this song. I do.
Ooh, this one is juicy, I will say.
All right.
My husband and I, when we got engaged and started really like dating serious, I was the eternal single girl. Like, I loved being single. I got really good at it. Like, I didn't have to answer to anyone, check in with anyone. And, I was so content and okay being alone and on my own. There's some people that are serial datists and love to be in a relationship. And after a while, I was so focused on my dream and getting a record deal and getting out on the road that I kind of like neglected truly trying to have a relationship. And when my husband proposed, I actually, most people say you go through the honeymoon phase or you get so excited. I kind of had this like panic that struck me of, wow, I was so good at being single. What if I'm not good at being in a relationship? Like, I don't know how to love someone properly. And he's such a beautiful person. Like, what if he deserves better than me? And what if I suck at loving him? Like, I have a tough time remembering what I ate for breakfast. What if I just am a bad wife or a bad lover? I've never done this. And so anyways, Good at Being Single is just about finding someone wonderful and being afraid that, maybe you won't be as good to them as they are to you. And I take great responsibility with trying to be a good partner. And I just wasn't sure that I was really ready to stop being so selfish, honestly. I don't know how to make like a perfect steak or like fold men's underwear. So it was, just Good at Being Single is really condensed down to that of hoping that I do a good job at protecting someone who I worship's heart, because he's wonderful.
That's awesome, Jen. You find that significant other and you learn a few things along the way, the likes, the don't likes, and the little things that are get on your nerves and kind of bother you for things like that, part of living together. This one was cool because last year y'all had a lot of fun with this, and it was just kind of a cool song, and the cover was so cool. 2022, SPF Me, which I thought was another really cool song from Renee Blair. Tell me how this one got going, because it's just and what a cool summertime kind of fun song that it still is for me today on my playlist.
Thank you. It's a little dirty.
Yeah.
And what's funny about SPF Me, I had never heard that phrase before we wrote it. And then this most recent season of The Bachelor, 2 or 3 girls got out of the limo and like had sunscreen because they were at the beach or something. And people said SPF Me on the show. And I was like, did they do that because of my song? So maybe I had subliminally heard it somewhere, or maybe they had just heard the music. But it's just about, very, very simple. You wanting someone that you have the hots for to rub some lotion on you at poolside or oceanside at the beach. Just very fun, lighthearted, and kind of self-explanatory. But yeah, rub some lotion on me, please. Mhm.
I love it too, no doubt. Well, I'll tell you, Tom, I'm having a little fun here, and I was going to ask this question. Yeah, David's tuning in from England over there too, as we're worldwide out there, hightidecountry.net. Do you play any musical instruments? I imagine she does too as well. Good question.
I do dabble in piano and guitar. I used to be a shredder on the guitar, but lately I've been obsessed with having long nails. And you can't play guitar with long nails. It's like near impossible. So for the ACMs, I was nominated for Song of the Year. My husband and I are co-writers on Wait in the Truck by Hardy and Lainey Wilson. And so I did some nails for the carpet, and I haven't been ready to part with them because I love them. So I can play instruments. Do I play them? Not right now because I selfishly or superficially have my nails on. So, but yes, I mean, we start most songs that we write just stripped down on an acoustic guitar. So kind of a necessary skill set to be able to at least get through a song. You don't have to be the best player in the world, but I'd say in Nashville, it's a rite of passage. You should probably know how to play a couple chords.
Yeah, I hope so. Being a Nashville recording artist too. We just came off the CMA Fest. I know last week it was the 50th anniversary of the CMA Fest. Did you get to partake? And I didn't get to see it all, but as far as I know, the meet and greets, Fanfare 10 had a bunch of stuff going on, and just people performing. Did you get to do anything at CMA Fest?
Yeah, I did a fan club party at the Tin Roof down on Broadway in the thick of all the madness. And then did one kind of writer's round off the main drag of everything. I wasn't sure how, this is my first pregnancy, so I wasn't sure how big I would be, how much energy I would have. So I didn't do as much as I normally do during a regular CMA Fest. But I did, when people started asking like a couple weeks out, and I realized I was feeling physically okay. I can't say no. I have a hard time saying no to things because I truly do love what I do. So I got into the madness more than I told myself I would. And it was wonderful. And this was actually a moderate temperature year in Nashville. Usually CMA Fest is 30,000 degrees and miserable, but it was kind of nice outside. So that was enjoyable as well.
Yeah, it's always a fun time. I got to get there. We've done the CRS the past couple of years, but as a media outlet, I definitely want to get there for the Showtime and, of course, CMA Fest, maybe 2024, 2025. But you got to let the kid kind of grow up a little bit and put the trust that can be left with somebody else before you just venture off. And see, that's the thing about it is not dissing parents, but parent life becoming not about you anymore. It's about the kid. And, and for us, it's a decent support system here and there. But I mean, for me, it's like, you know what? Got to be dad, got to be mom, and you can't go out to a concert, and you miss a little bit of that 20s life, Renee. You do when you.
Don't tell me that, please.
I know I shouldn't say that.
Tell me that everything's going to be the same.
And it could. Like I said, I know I'm gonna say the first 12 months. That's the bond time, no doubt. And then the minute they get older, warn Jordan about this. They quickly become. Well, for me, it was a daddy's girl, and that's could be daddy's boy pretty quick too. So that first 12 months, they're attached to mom. It's like, daddy who? The minute they hit, I don't know, a year and a half to a year to two, she quickly became a daddy's girl, no doubt. She's running to me like with the sleeping out of her bed. Now, daddy. I'm like, oh God, this is. And last night was like a horror movie. It was like, can you please go to bed?
Yeah, I've heard that men tend to, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you did kind of just hit on it. Maybe it's an urban myth, but that men tend to really come to life and bond the most when kids can communicate with them like verbally.
Yes.
And I did notice that with my husband and his niece. Like when she was an infant or really young, he was so sweet with her, but once she could kind of start having a conversation with him or just string some words together, he just lit up and really bonded in a different way. So I will say, yeah, I hear that once our little boy can start talking more and acknowledging dad, that I'm screwed, that I'll be forgotten.
They definitely tend to attract more to dad at that time. And it's cool holding a conversation because their little minds just run fast and furious and definitely. And I will say this, the social skills part is so important. Putting them in a daycare environment with other kids is so vital to their growth and development. And we have a good support system through the school she goes to. Just a year and a half out now from kindergarten, so I'm going to keep you posted on the transition from, which is still crazy how next year 4. It's like it just flies by, and I don't know. I still don't know where that time went, even when she was born April 2020 up until now. I don't know where it went. That's how fast they're. I remember the song Billy Dean told me one time here on the show, and it let them be little, Renee, and it's so true. It is. That song is.
Your daughter was born April 2020 and is about to be 4
next year.
Next year. I still am. Are you one of those people like me that's like, oh, the pandemic's been around for like a year or two? Like, how does time does fly? Holy moly!
It's out of our hands too.
That is insane.
It's nuts. It is nuts. And please keep me posted with all the pictures and baby pictures. I people want to see them, family, that kind of thing. I know you'll have some social media stuff going on too, and I'll have to send you a picture of mine now. She is
please
my whole world, heart and soul out there, no doubt. Well, I guess in the fun time out there, or not doing music, of course, getting ready to be a mom. Are there other hidden hobbies or fun things you like to do when you're not doing music?
You know, I could have actually this flip camera thing. I do charcoal drawing, so I could actually do this. I love to. I don't make the time often like I should, but I love to. I've got a couple of different sketch pads and charcoal that I dabble in. I've drawn some mean horses and deer and cattle. I love art of any kind. Starting with kind of like songwriting, you start with nothing and seeing what you can create is really beautiful. I love that. I love to cook. But you know, I also love to travel. Being on the road so much, you go to so many cities, but you essentially see green rooms. And it's not, I mean, especially some of the venues I'm at, a green room might be a closet. And it's not as glamorous as people think it is. Sometimes you don't get to really enjoy the cities. So I do love an excuse to travel and experience new places. And then last but not least, my husband and I miss getting drunk with him every night playing Scrabble. That is our like wild, crazy night. We play Scrabble and split a bottle of red wine. And that's kind of become like our favorite pastime as a couple. And we still are playing Scrabble. I'm the reigning champ. But I don't get to enjoy the red wine, which I'm excited to get back to once little guy comes. Yeah.
I love that too. Favorite meal to cook? What do you enjoy?
Gosh, that's a tough one. Everything. I try to eat healthy, you know. I hate seeing pictures and videos of performances where I'm like, gosh, I need to get my shit together. Sorry if I can't say that on here.
No, you can. It's a podcast. You can. It's internet radio. We're like the Howard Stern show.
But yeah, I mean, I cook. I would say a fan favorite of what my husband or my family likes is I make a mean salmon with potatoes and some kind of veggie. So I've mastered the potatoes and my salmon, and then you can pick your, you know, veggie of choice on the side. I can whip up something pretty good.
Ooh, I like that too. I have to try that meal one day too, no doubt. I'll tell you one of my favorite. I love. You said right there, had like meatloaf for lunch today with a side of green beans, mashed potatoes, and rice, and it was just like a whole cool thing. And I just love any kind of get the home cooking stuff there. And that's what it's all about too. All right, favorite toppings on pizza for Renee Blair.
I love a loaded pizza. So it doesn't matter. Like even honestly, a good veggie one I would take. I didn't eat meat for a while, but during my pregnancy, I've gone back to it. I've been pescatarian for a while, but I'm kind of back on the meat train. But it doesn't matter, meat or no meat. I love like onions, olives, peppers, mushroom, and then anything else you want to load on a pizza. I even like a pineapple pizza. I know that's very controversial in the pizza world.
But, you know, a few months ago, spent a funny story about that. I just had it for the first time, and I was pretty impressed. The Hawaiian thing was the Canadian bacon with. It was good. I enjoyed it. Yeah,
like bacon, ham, pineapple, onion. If they do it right, it can be very good. Yeah, pizza. I just say the more the merrier. I love a loaded pizza.
And depending on where you get it from, too, that's another.
Yes. Another oh my God, pizza is not a one size fits all. Not made the same.
No. Let's do this. Last show to binge watch. What'd you get into?
a dirty show called Dave. It's so
Gosh.
good. Dave is one of my favorite shows of all time. It's kind of like Entourage meets Curb Your Enthusiasm, if you're a fan of either of those. It's about this white rapper that tries to make it in Hollywood, and the humor is just incredible. So I just binged the most recent season of Dave, and it did not disappoint. It was so good.
I'll have to watch it out. Just check it out and see. The Amazon, Netflix, is that?
It's, I believe it's, I want to say HBO.
Max? Okay, I got the Max.
But yeah, they switched to Max. But you know what? It might be Hulu. I think it's Hulu actually. But I mean, listen, with what you do, like even just having me on here, they do such a good portrayal. I mean, Justin Bieber's on it. A lot, Doja Cat, a lot of other big musicians. They even had Brad Pitt on the finale this year. Yeah, I mean, it's truly kind of like an industry junkie type show. So with what you do, I think you would find a lot of the humor and the jokes to kind of be in your wheelhouse, so to say. It's really good. It's called Dave, and Scooter Braun, who's Justin Bieber's manager, is one of the executive producers on the show. So you would like to think that at least with the music world that they're exposed to and work in, that even though it's a fictional show, they do a good portrayal of kind of truly showing you what it's actually like. So,
well, I tell you what, I love you as a fan. You're a great songwriter, a terrific human being. Jordan, you do so much for the country music industry there in Tennessee. You've been around this thing a whole, it feels like, the last decade. You contributed so much to the industry. Great songs, a great person, and I cannot wait to see her baby boy a healthy, happy, safe pregnancy in the next month, and happy birth out there too. Healthy birth. Holy Cowboy is out there across all the digital platforms. Make sure you guys go stream that out there if you haven't already, and check it out. I know there's more to come. Thank you so much for making time for us here on the show, and great to meet you, and definitely let's do this again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I really, really appreciate it. It means a lot.
You got it. Renee Blair, love that photo of Johnny Cash behind her too as well, painting. And Holy Cowboy across all the digital platforms. Tomorrow, sports, music come together. CJ Nitkowski, MLB Network Radio. We'll talk Rangers, all things baseball. Faith Schiller, Sarah Allison Turner, a couple of artists you may not have heard about. You will tomorrow here at HighTideCountry.net. And, of course, Bangtail Whiskey and our friends at Honky Tonk Texas, powered by the Sports Guys Podcast.com. Have a great night. We'll see you